The security footage was supposed to be deleted after 30 days. Instead, I found myself watching my wife Jenna make out with her co-worker Ronan in the design firm's parking lot for the third time this morning, my coffee growing cold as I sat in my cramped cubicle. Another thrilling day in paradise, Nate. My cubicle neighbor Dave peered over the partition, his tie already loosened at 9 a.m. Living the dream, I muttered, minimizing the video window. The irony wasn't lost on me. While Jenna worked in her glass-walled corner office at Morrison Design, mocking my pathetic cubicle job to anyone who'd listen, I'd just been promoted to regional IT director, a promotion she knew nothing about. My phone buzzed. Text from Jenna. Working late again tonight. Don't wait up. I almost laughed. Working late, right. The video had come from an unexpected source. Mrs. Finch, our 70-year-old neighbor who'd somehow become a digital surveillance expert during the pandemic. She'd sent it with a simple message. Thought you should know, dear. I'd known about the affair for weeks, but seeing it played out in high definition was different. Jenna pressed against Ronan's BMW, her hands in his perfectly styled hair, both of them oblivious to the security camera mounted 20 feet away. Henderson, my soon-to-be former boss, barked from across the office. Conference room, now. I grabbed my laptop and headed over, wondering if this was about my transfer. The regional office in Denver had been courting me for months, offering double my salary and an actual office with a door. I'd accepted yesterday. Sit down, Nate. Mr. Peterson looked uncomfortable, shuffling papers. I've got some news about your transfer request. The one to Denver? Yeah, about that. He paused, then smiled. Congratulations. You start Monday. They're flying you out tomorrow to find an apartment. I felt a genuine smile spread across my face. That's fantastic news. There's more. They're bumping your title to senior director. Apparently your work on the Morrison account impressed some important people. Morrison. Jenna's company. The same company where she and Ronan thought they were so clever, using company resources for their little romance. I'd been monitoring their network security for months, documenting every personal email, every after-hours access, every expense report discrepancy. Thanks, Mr. Peterson. I really appreciate the opportunity. Walking back to my cubicle, I pulled out my phone and called Jenna. It went straight to voicemail. Hey, it's me. Just wanted to let you know I got some interesting news today. We should talk tonight. Love you. The lie rolled off my tongue easily. Love. What a joke. I spent the rest of the day cleaning out my desk and copying files to an encrypted drive. Dave watched me pack with confusion. You taking a vacation or something? Something like that. I held up a framed photo of Jenna and me from our wedding 3 years ago. We looked happy, young, stupid. I dropped it in the trash. Jenna didn't come home until nearly midnight. I was waiting in the living room, laptop open, the parking lot video queued up and ready. Nate? Why are you still awake? She kicked off her heels, looking guilty but trying to hide it. I told you not to wait up. We need to talk. Something in my tone made her freeze. About what? I turned the laptop screen toward her and hit play. Her face went white as she watched herself kissing Ronan, his hands roaming places that used to be reserved for me. Where did you get this? Her voice was barely a whisper. Does it matter? I closed the laptop. The question is, how long has this been going on? She straightened up, and I saw the exact moment she decided to go on the offensive. It was like watching a switch flip. You had me followed? You sick bastard. Actually, no. This came from Morrison's own security system. You know, the one I've been maintaining for the past 2 years? The one you constantly mocked me for working on? Jenna's jaw dropped. She'd forgotten about my work with her company's IT infrastructure. Nate, listen. No, you listen. I stood up, surprised by how calm I felt. I know about the hotel receipts you've been hiding. I know about the fake client dinners. I know about the company credit card you've been using for your little dates. You're spying on me! I'm doing my job, the same pathetic cubicle job you love joking about with your friends. I walked to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water, letting the silence stretch. Speaking of which, I have some news. What news? I got promoted. Senior director position in Denver. I start Monday. She stared at me. Denver? You can't just… Actually, I can. I'm flying out tomorrow to find an apartment. You can keep this place. I'm sure Ronan will help with the rent. Nate, please, we can work this out. It was a mistake. The only mistake was mine. Thinking you actually loved me instead of just tolerating me until something better came along. Jenna's mask slipped completely. You want to know the truth? Yes, I've been seeing Ronan. Yes, he's everything you're not. He's ambitious, he's successful. He drives a BMW instead of that piece of crap Honda you refuse to replace. Feel better now? Actually, yes. I'm tired of pretending to be happy with someone who has no ambition, no drive, no… Money? She had the decency to look ashamed for about 2 seconds. It's not just about money. Right. It's about status, image, the kind of man you can show off at company parties. I finished my water and set the glass in the sink. Well, good news. You won't have to be embarrassed by me anymore. I headed toward the bedroom to pack. Where are you going? Hotel. I'll send for my stuff next week. Nate, wait. She followed me down the hall. We can fix this. Couples therapy, counseling. I turned around. Jenna, do you love him? The question hung in the air. I watched her struggle with the answer, and that told me everything I needed to know. It's complicated. No, it's really not. I pulled my suitcase from the closet. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. As I packed, Jenna sat on the bed crying. Whether the tears were real or performative, I couldn't tell anymore. Maybe it didn't matter. I never meant for this to happen, she said. Yeah, you did. You just never meant for me to find out. I zipped up the suitcase and headed for the door. Nate? I paused without turning around. What are you going to do? For the first time all night, I smiled. I'm going to Denver. I'm going to start my new job, and I'm going to let you explain to everyone why your husband suddenly disappeared. You can't just leave without… Watch me. I walked out, leaving her sitting on our bed in the house we'd bought together, surrounded by the life we'd built and she'd destroyed. The hotel room was quiet, clean, mine. For the first time in months, I slept like a baby. Denver was everything I'd hoped for. Corner office, view of the mountains, salary that made my old paycheck look like lunch money. I'd been there 3 weeks when my phone rang. Nate, it's Derek, my old college roommate and best friend. We'd stayed close over the years, despite his blue-collar job running an auto repair shop and my white-collar cubicle existence. He was one of the few people who'd seen through Jenna's act from the beginning. Hey man, how's the new gig? Can't complain, what's up? You might want to sit down for this. His voice was serious. I just had an interesting visitor at the shop. Yeah? Ronan Mitchell. Drives a white BMW, thinks his shit doesn't stink. Ring any bells? My grip tightened on the phone. What did he want? Information about you, where you went, what you're up to, whether you're planning any revenge schemes. Derek chuckled. Guy seemed pretty nervous. What did you tell him? That he should be nervous. That you're a lot smarter than people give you credit for, and that screwing over your best friend was probably the dumbest thing he'd ever done. I leaned back in my chair, looking out at the Rocky Mountains. How did he even find you? Mutual friends, I guess. Speaking of which, you should know that half your old crowd is taking sides. Mark and Jennifer think you're being dramatic. Steve and Lisa think Jenna's a cheating bitch who got what she deserved. Mark and Jennifer. I'd been friends with them since college. We'd been couples who hung out together, went on vacation together, celebrated anniversaries together. If they thought I was being dramatic about my wife's affair, then they were never really my friends to begin with. Let me guess. Mark thinks I should have tried harder to work things out. Bingo. Says marriage is about forgiveness and compromise. Jennifer agrees. They're planning some kind of intervention. An intervention? They want to fly out there and talk sense into you, convince you to come back and fight for your marriage. I almost laughed. They want me to fight for a woman who's been screwing her coworker for months? That's what I said. But you know Mark. He thinks every problem can be solved with a heart-to-heart conversation and good intentions. Mark had always been naive. It was part of his charm, but also his biggest weakness. He saw the world the way he wanted it to be, not the way it actually was. When are they coming? This weekend. They already booked flights. I looked at my calendar. Perfect timing. I'd been planning to make some moves regarding Jenna and Ronan's situation, and having witnesses might actually work in my favor. Tell them I'd love to see them. They can stay at my place. Really? You're not pissed? Why would I be pissed? They're about to get a front row seat to the best show in town. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and reviewed the files I'd been collecting. Jenna's expense reports, Ronan's company emails, security footage from Morrison Design's parking garage. 3 weeks of careful documentation. But the real prize was what I'd discovered about Ronan himself. The marriage certificate was public record. Ronan Mitchell, married to Sarah Mitchell for 7 years, 2 kids, ages 5 and 3, a house in the suburbs, a wife who taught elementary school, a perfect little family that had no idea Daddy was playing house with his co-worker. I'd hired a private investigator to fill in the gaps. Ronan had been living a double life for months, telling Sarah he was working late, traveling for business, attending mandatory company events. Meanwhile, he was taking Jenna to expensive restaurants, weekend getaways, and hotel rooms paid for with Morrison Design's corporate account. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Jenna. I deleted it without responding. The next text came an hour later. Nate, please. I know you're angry, but we can fix this. Delete. The third text was different. I know what you're planning. Don't do something you'll regret. That one made me smile. She had no idea what I was planning, but she was smart enough to be scared. Good. I picked up my phone and called Mrs. Finch. Hello, dear. How are you settling in out there? Very well, thank you. I have a favor to ask. Of course. What do you need? I need you to keep an eye on the house for me. Take some pictures if you see anything interesting. Interesting how? Let's just say I have a feeling Jenna might be having some visitors, the kind she wouldn't want documented. Mrs. Finch's voice took on a conspiratorial tone. Oh, I see. Well, you know how I love my photography hobby. I thought you might. Send everything to my email. Consider it done, dear. The trap was set. Now I just had to wait for Mark and Jennifer to arrive, and for Jenna and Ronan to make their next move. This was going to be fun. Mark and Jennifer arrived Friday evening, full of righteous concern and misguided optimism. I picked them up at the airport in my new Audi, a little indulgence I'd allowed myself with the salary bump. Nice car, Mark said, sliding into the passenger seat. Business must be good. Can't complain. Jennifer leaned forward from the back seat. Nate, we're really glad you agreed to see us. We've been so worried. Worried about what? About you. About this whole situation with Jenna. We think you're making a huge mistake. I navigated through Denver traffic, letting them talk. They'd rehearsed this conversation, probably on the plane. Mark would appeal to my sense of loyalty and commitment. Jennifer would focus on forgiveness and second chances. They meant well, but they had no idea what they were walking into. Have you talked to her? Mark asked. Since you left? She's tried to contact me. I haven't responded. Don't you think that's a little cold? I glanced at him. She was screwing another man for months, Mark. How warm do you want me to be? People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. Multiple choices, made over and over again. Jennifer jumped in. But marriage is about working through problems together. You can't just run away when things get difficult. I didn't run away. I got promoted and moved to a better job in a better city. There's a difference. We pulled into my apartment complex, a high-end building with mountain views and underground parking. Mark whistled appreciatively. This place must cost a fortune. Less than you'd think. Denver's cheaper than most people realize. My apartment was furnished but impersonal. I'd been too busy with work and planning to make it feel like home. It's very modern, Jennifer said diplomatically. It's temporary. I'm looking at houses. We ordered dinner and settled in for the conversation I knew was coming. Mark opened a bottle of wine, expensive stuff he'd brought from home, and poured 3 glasses. So, he said, settling into the couch. Let's talk about Jenna. What about her? She's devastated, Nate. Absolutely devastated. She knows she screwed up and she wants to make things right. How do you know what she wants? Mark and Jennifer exchanged glances. We've been talking to her, Jennifer admitted. She reached out to us after you left. She's been crying for weeks. I'm sure she has. She ended things with Ronan, Mark said. Completely cut him off. She wants to focus on saving your marriage. I took a sip of wine, savoring the moment. When did she tell you that? Last week. She called us, begging us to talk to you. She said she'd do anything to fix this. Interesting timing. What do you mean? I pulled out my phone and opened the email from Mrs. Finch. 3 photos, taken yesterday afternoon. Jenna and Ronan entering my old house together. Jenna and Ronan on the couch, half-dressed. Jenna and Ronan leaving together 2 hours later. I handed the phone to Mark. His face went white. She sent these yesterday, I said calmly. About 6 hours before she called you crying about how sorry she was. Jennifer grabbed the phone, her mouth falling open. Oh my God. There's more. I opened my laptop and pulled up a folder labeled Evidence. Expense reports showing company money used for hotel rooms, email chains between Jenna and Ronan planning their little getaways, security footage from Morrison Design's parking garage. Mark was staring at the photos like he couldn't process what he was seeing. Maybe there's an explanation. There is. She's a liar, and you're gullible. Nate! Jennifer looked shocked. That's your wife you're talking about. No, that's my soon-to-be ex-wife I'm talking about. There's a difference. I closed the laptop and refilled my wine glass. Here's what's really interesting, though. Want to know who else is married? They both looked at me blankly. Ronan. 7 years, 2 kids. His wife Sarah teaches 3rd grade at Maple Elementary. Sweet woman, according to my research. No idea her husband's been living a double life. Mark set down his wine glass with shaking hands. You hired a private investigator? I hired a professional to document facts. Everything I'm showing you is verifiable, legal, and admissible in divorce court. What are you planning to do? Jennifer's voice was barely a whisper. I smiled. I'm going to destroy them. Both of them. Completely, thoroughly, and publicly. Nate, you can't... Watch me. I opened my laptop again and showed them the email I'd drafted to Morrison Design's HR department. Attached were copies of every piece of evidence I'd collected. The affair, the misuse of company funds, the violation of workplace policies. This goes out Monday morning. By noon, they'll both be fired. That's not enough for you? Mark looked horrified. Oh, that's just the beginning. I opened another folder. This goes to Ronan's wife. Photos, emails, hotel receipts, everything. She'll have it all by Monday afternoon. Jennifer was crying now. This isn't you, Nate. This isn't who you are. You're right. The old me would have tried to work things out, would have gone to counseling, begged for another chance, pretended it never happened. I closed the laptop. The old me was an idiot. What about forgiveness? Mark asked desperately. What about being the bigger person? I am being the bigger person. I'm giving them exactly what they deserve. Nothing more and nothing less. My phone rang, Jenna's number. I answered on speaker. Hello, Jenna. Nate, thank God. Listen, I know Mark and Jennifer are there. I know they're trying to help, but... But what? You're too busy screwing Ronan to appreciate their concern? Silence. Oh, you thought I didn't know about yesterday? Mrs. Finch sends her regards, by the way. She's gotten very good with that new camera. Nate, please. Monday morning, Jenna. Check your email Monday morning. I hung up. Mark and Jennifer stared at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. This is wrong, Jennifer said. This is cruel and vindictive and wrong. Know what's wrong? Betraying someone who loved you. Know what's cruel? Lying to your friends so they'll do your dirty work for you? Know what's vindictive? Mocking your husband's job while he's supporting your career? I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. You came here to save my marriage, but my marriage died months ago. I'm just making sure everyone knows it. They left the next morning, disappointed and disgusted. I didn't care. They'd chosen their side the moment they believed Jenna's lies without asking for my side of the story. Monday morning, I sent the emails. By Tuesday, both Jenna and Ronan were unemployed. By Wednesday, Ronan's wife had filed for divorce and taken the kids to her mother's house. By Friday, the story had spread through Denver's design community like wildfire. Jenna's reputation was destroyed. No firm would touch her. She called me once more, crying and begging and threatening. I listened for exactly 60 seconds, then hung up and blocked her number. 3 months later, the divorce was final. I kept the Denver job, bought a house in the mountains, and started dating a lawyer named Kate, who thought my story was hilarious rather than horrifying. Jenna moved back in with her parents in Ohio. Ronan found work at a small firm in another state, but the industry is smaller than people think. Word travels. I never saw either of them again. Sometimes people ask if I regret what I did, if I think I went too far. The answer is simple. They made their choices, and I made mine. They chose betrayal, lies, and humiliation. I chose justice.